Okay. All right. Cool. Cool. Here we go. So get started nice. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Tyeshia. Tell us about your background.
Awesome. So once again, my name is Tyeshia Pegram Fornville. Fornville is my married name. Just added it on. But I am a project manager at a company called Boomy. We
Hmm.
used to be called Dell Boomy. We was a
Okay.
Boomy, a Dell Brands. Boomy is an integration automation company. We help, I won't say just big companies, but you help universities, small businesses, coffee shops. We just help to make their automation really easy and simple. And we pride ourselves on that. Um, I actually came from how I got into at Boomy. I was transitioning out of the military after serving about 9 years on active duty, and I wanted a
Hmm.
bigger job. And so I leveraged LinkedIn. I got referred and got my current job. I've been with my job for about two-ish years.
Okay.
I work on many projects.
Such
I sit
as
on a, oh,
such
I was
as
about to
what?
say that. So I
What
actually
areas?
sit on
What
a,
areas are we talking about?
all right. So I actually sit on a Scrum team. We build
Okay.
connectors.
Oh.
We have 163 connectors that's included in our open APIs that are
Right.
open to the
Right.
public.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do that. My team is offshore in India, but we do have a product manager, myself, and a few engineers that are onshore.
Okay. So
I
are you?
also do I also do a lot of things internally. So I host my product and engineers all hands meetings, ask me anything. I host my head of product, chief of innovation. I host and put together his webinars that happen quarterly. I help push out communication about any deprecations that our company is about to cut off customers with, and then come
Mhm.
up with a game plan. Um,
Wow. Awesome.
I
So
host I host a lot of fun activities and
fun.
parties,
Parties. What kind of parties
parties
we
for
talking about?
products. Like,
What kind of parties?
well, get example. Tomorrow we're doing a product fun form. We're gonna have six workshops. One of them
And
is
we
called
gonna
Work Life Balance.
we gonna have food now? What kind of food we eating?
Listen, it's
Huh?
it's virtually, but you know what's in your cup is what's in your cup,
I
right?
mean, I want something
So
on my plate too. I want something on my plate. What kind of food
look,
we eating? Huh?
actually, this was supposed to be on a Wednesday because our headquarters is in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
in Chesterfield, Pennsylvania, and they give free food out on Wednesdays. And so the idea was that our local people get together on Wednesday, have this event, and it have free food, but we had to shift the date, so no food for the party,
Man,
y'all.
come on, man. I'm gonna need some devil eggs, some meatballs or something.
But let me tell you,
Um,
but we do some awesome stuff at Boomy in product. Um, we're always trying to be ahead of the game of certain things. So I like one of our solutions team. They ended up leveraging the chat GPT. I think
okay.
I said it
Really? Really?
right.
So
They leverage that
you had a
for
chance to
our
work with
platform for
chat?
our customers and using. And
You had a chance to work with
no, I
chat
have
already?
not because I do not.
Oh,
I have not.
oh.
So, but guess what though, right?
What's up?
It's at my job. So I'm actually trying to see what they're using it for
Yeah,
and, learn about
yeah.
it. And
Uh-huh.
so, that's one toolkit, something to add to the toolkit. So
Absolutely.
I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
But outside of that, I sit in meetings, take notes, make sure people stay on As a manager, we do a lot of herding of cats, making sure
Yeah.
people are accountable of their actions,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
in tech, it's kind of different, versus like a non-technical, like with somebody that do at. So I know somebody that work at Foot Locker, right? So our job duties are probably a little bit different, but project management itself, that skill doesn't change,
Right. So
right?
so real quick, compare and contrast how your duties as a project manager relates to let's say a sales associate at Foot Locker. I know that sales supervisor, how to manage their teams too, but it's just kind of show the similarity there, the relationship. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's so easy, right? I
Really?
feel like everybody have project management skills.
Hmm.
Communication, we
Mm-hmm.
managing people,
Right.
right?
Right.
Start to finishing a task, keeping people accountable. Like those things do not change,
Uh-huh.
right? So
Yeah.
for a sales associate, say a supervisor, their job is to schedule people, communicate that out, manage time, manage um oh, they're managing the budget, meaning as when they order supplies, order new inventory, they got to make sure they stayed in budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
project management skills don't change, but our duties might be a little off. Like, so I'm not selling nothing at my job. I don't do customer facing at my
Right.
company. I
Right.
don't talk to stakeholders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Foot Locker, right? Foot Locker, their stakeholders is their customers. How can we satisfy our customers, right? So it's our duties are different, but those that project management skills don't change. That's why I tell a lot of people, well, who makes a good project manager?
Oh,
Stay-at-home moms. Stay-at-home moms.
whoa. Now hold on,
Stay-at-home
man.
moms. Stay-at-home wives. They're good project managers.
Yeah. You trying to say the honey-do list would be the agenda?
Listen, they think about it. They wake up and they say, cool, what is on my to-do list? I need to communicate to my kids that you're going to school. I'm picking you up at 3:30. We got soccer at 4, right? Husband, boyfriend, listen, I need you to go pick the kids up at 5 o'clock from soccer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about when they do a grocery list. Hey, we only have $250 for this week. We need to stay in budget. If we go over budget, we need to come together and figure out what is not going to be bought.
Right.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
So they make the best project managers. Right. So when I tell people, they be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get into project management." I said, "You already doing it. Think about when you need to wash your laundry. You gotta say, how much time do I have to wash clothes? How much soap I'm gonna use, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I hate folding clothes. I My daughter bed right now full of clothes. I'm on my way home, right? And I'm saying to myself, like, oh God, I gotta fold clothes, right? And it's already my time, right?
Yeah.
7:32, and I'm like, nah, I'm not folding nothing. I'm going to bed. That's my fault for mismanaging my time, right? Mismanaging my time. So guess what? I will say, as a project manager, and my stakeholders is my family, like, hey, this task is red because I did not fold I did not fold clothes, so I could turn anybody to a good project manager, right? Listen, I go to my waitress, when I go out and stuff, I'm like, you should become a project manager. You know why? A waiter got to communicate if the food coming out late, right? Hey, do
Yep.
you need more water, more juice, more soda, right? Like,
Yeah.
they manage time. Like, yeah, they might say, like, I don't need you to go home, but I need you to get up off this table.
Mm-hmm.
You get that check too early. You like, dang, I didn't even finish eating my
Yeah.
food yet, right? So they trying to hint
Time to
something
go.
to you. It's
Yeah.
called time management.
Mm-hmm.
I got money to be made. Think about them, right? When they calculate their tips at the end of the day, right? They need to make sure that they have enough money to make it to the next day or the next month. Like, they got to figure, like, oh, cool, I need to do a double next week so I can pay my rent or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's just saying to get into tech, that's where you say, cool, I need to learn this skill. I need to learn what Scrum Master is. And by the way, when I got hired, my manager was like, listen, you had no technical skills. You still don't. You've been here 2 years. You're still learning. But guess what? You don't take no BS from nobody. You get the job done. You heard the cats. You make those executive decisions. And that's what I needed. I needed somebody that was going to be organized, not roll over, you know. And so like I didn't even know what Scrum Master was. I didn't even know what a product owner and product manager was. I didn't know none of that. You know what I did? That first couple of weeks, I hit the books. I hit the books, hit LinkedIn
Yep.
Learning. I took the Scrum Master's course on Scrum Alliance. So I'm a certified Scrum Master. Like I did what I had to do on the job. But
Okay.
it's funny,
Right,
not
you
a
did
lot.
that
A
early.
lot of people
Okay.
listen. That's a project in itself.
It
And
is.
people will be like, "Dan, you smart. If you little to you know, right?" But that's me being honest. I'm never gatekeeping. I don't gatekeep
Right.
like this. I don't gatekeep. So
Right.
guess what? I'm gonna tell the people real. Like, listen, nah, I didn't. I got my job out of luck because the chief of staff, she was like, "I like you, get hired," and guess what happened? I got hired in a
Mhm.
week, right? So I got lucky, but guess what? This whole experience, I'm showing soldiers and I'm showing people that listen, it's doable. It's how you do it too.
So you know
So
what, real
that's
quick.
my
Now,
story. Thank
now,
you.
now tell you what, you know what, that was a great introduction. All right. And we're gonna say some more for the rest of the episode. So Michael, I want you to
Yeah.
introduce yourself really quick. Tell us what you're currently doing and just a little about your background, your education, uh
Yeah.
previous professional experience, and tell us some
Mhm.
projects you currently manage. I know you mentioned about Linux,
Mhm.
automation as well. So give us a little bit about uh, what kind of projects do you use? What kind of projects, services, applications do you automate?
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of started like I went to Purdue and I went
Okay.
for a
Wow.
mechanical engineering. So I kind of stumbled in, and everyone was telling me like as I was going through the program that I should go into computer science, and I was like, no, I can do both. Like I'll figure it out once I get out. And I started teaching myself how to code, all that kind of stuff, like developing video games and then like selling them to investors while I was in college, so I didn't have to work like all the time, so I could be able to pay for things. So that's kind of where like the love started for like coding and all that kind of stuff. I started actually in HVAC, like weirdly
Well,
enough. Yeah, I started in
yeah,
HVAC.
man, you made the switch from HVAC to
Yeah.
science. But
So
you know what
I
though, you do carry a lot of the technical and troubleshooting skill from HVAC over. So yeah,
exactly, and that's
right.
that's kind of how I kind of got into tech. So I was I worked for Johnson Controls, and then I worked for Siemens, and I work for Siemens now, but like a software division of theirs. And yeah, I was teaching myself how to code and things like that. And then I got the interview, and they were like, "Hey, like, do you know how to code in Python?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I could code in Python." And I didn't actually know that I knew how to code in like actually code in Python correctly. Like, so
Mhm.
I go through the interview, and they're like, "Yeah," like so. It was my very first like job that I was like, oh, okay, this is what you can make in tech, things like
Yeah.
that. So now I actually do a bunch of different stuff. So at it's called Comfy, but now it's Enlighted. So I manage a lot of different stuff. I'm an integration engineer, a solution architect as well. So I do a lot of the like discovery and then like figuring out how to make stuff work. So they'll sell things all the time, and then they'd be like Michael, can you make this work? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Right.
yeah, give me two
Mhm.
weeks. Like, so like, and that's what he hired me for, was to figure out problems. So I told him, I was like, I don't want the job unless I'm going to be solving problems. And he was like, yeah, there's a lot of problems to solve. So I was the first one to
Mhm.
come in, and then I
That's
trained
good.
all of the rest of the engineers after that. So I work with a lot of like Azure deployment, a lot of like GraphQL, SQL. I do a lot of like Kubernetes and backend Linux, Ubuntu services. Work with Microsoft, BP, like different clients, like pretty much all around the world. Right now, we're working with some clients in Australia, so like time is a little different. One of my main clients are in Hong Kong, so like sometimes I'm up at this time, like trying to work like
Ooh,
with them,
man,
like and try
you're
to
accountable,
troubleshoot.
don't
Yeah, yeah, I'm yeah all over, and then
you? Ooh,
yeah, and then like on the side, I teach like pretty much around the world,
sound like
STEM
me.
and stuff like that. Yeah, and then
Yeah,
I
yeah.
and then I was talking to you about, yeah, I also develop video games for different companies,
Uh-huh.
stuff like that on the side. So just love of like solving problems, like for me, and that's kind of how I got into it. Was you know a lot of companies are looking for people to do that actually can do work, a lot of times. And I'm the person where Tyeshia, like I would be listening to you most of the time. Like you're telling me, like keeping me in line, because that's what a lot of the project managers do. Like everybody comes to me to ask me to do a bunch of stuff. Like I don't really like the project management side, but I like the solving of problems. So there's in tech, there's the two sides. There's the people that's like, we can solve the problems. The people that's like, hey, like I need you to stay on track and finish this, kind of thing. So, you know, yeah, that's kind of how I got into it, and
Nice.
it was a kind of unorthodox, I guess.
What are some of the courses you teach? Because I still teach at different online institutions too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do a lot of different things. Most of them have been like, K through 12. So
Mhm.
I teach like, game design, Python, programming, stuff like that. And then I also teach like, cybersecurity, Ubuntu, like server management and server deployment, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
right.
I was teaching in Nairobi for probably about a year,
Oh
to
wow.
these two boys, that they were black. Like, so I was really like, I really wanted to invest in them and like kind of show them like what they
Or-
needed to know.
So with the teaching in Nairobi, was that an online curriculum or like where you actually in Nairobi?
No, no, no. I wanted to go, but I was still here, like in the
Okay.
United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. So their parents needed them to like learn before they actually apply to
Hmm.
college. So I got them their portfolios and stuff together, so
Yeah.
that when they were ready to apply for college, like they could apply with their like GitHub, and everything like that. So.
Man, that's nice. Yes, and my teacher portfolio is similar. I taught Cisco Networking Academy at two
Mhm.
schools at Trump State Community College here in Montgomery and at
Okay.
All Boys High School, Baton Cross Academy. Great experience, open my eyes to many different issues,
Hmm.
different types of learners, I would say. But
Yeah.
outside of my own IT workshop, I teach for Thrive DX. They
Oh
have a
yeah.
cohort
Yep.
for like different colleges, universities like University of Miami, Colorado, but my
Hmm.
school online is American University. I'm teaching ethical hacking and digital forensics with them. So that's a new step for me. And I was working on
Yeah.
the
It's cool.
firewall team. So going on the security side of things is, I say,
Yeah.
it's been cool.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's how my interest grew for automation too. Learning more
Hmm.
about cloud because we use Azure at my job.
Hmm. Yep.
We using Azure. Yep. Why I want to ask? Oh, so I heard you all talk about UX and UI. So I know UI stands for user interface. I want y'all to explain what is UX? Like what type of work does that include?
Taishu, you wanna
Yeah,
take
yeah,
that
Ty.
first, or
You might want to take
you're the
that
project manager, so you
lead.
you you see it
you
all.
might
So.
you might want to take that.
A matter of fact, Joe, let me tell you,
uh,
I'll be lying if I be, out here trying to get my words together, but I do not know, right? So our UX team, right, and I could say like we have our UX and UI team does a lot of things. So our UX team does they do like our research, right? They research the market, research what works, what's not working, right? And how are we competitive? How are our I would guess our like platform with colors and words and all this, you know, whatever is called. How are we competing? How are we competitive with other companies?
hmm
Right. And so and I get to say this, we're not doing so well. We're not doing well at Boomi with that. And so they actually restructured our whole team to try to figure out, like, come up with that solution of how can we do more, right? So we have a research team. We have a team that works with our engineers to solve these problems. The definition wise, I don't know, to be honest. I was just about to Google it.
I was gonna say, so I do a bit of like, like for my business, the business that I run, like I create like mobile apps and websites and stuff like that. So like I don't do a lot of the work a lot of times. It's, I hire guys in India and Pakistan to do a lot of the stuff. So I'll get like jobs and stuff that'll come to me, and like I'll bid on them, and like, I'll be like, hey, I can, this. So I actually learn through like working with them because they know a lot of stuff and they can do so much. I'll admit I leverage the currency discrepancy between, so I might get paid like 10 grand for something, like then I can pay them like $3,000 would be a lot, in Pakistan and India. Like that's, that could make them rich, those kind of things. So like a lot of times what it is like, for them, like the UX designers that I like might hire and stuff like that, they'll actually, they're setting up the like anything from splash screens to like how the app moves through. So like how a button would interact with the next part. They don't do a lot of coding, like, so they'll actually create a lot of the UX and UI and stuff like that and actually put it together and then try to make sure, like Tyeshia was saying, like making sure that it, it's good with the market, because you don't want old like UX and UI. Like no one's gonna want your app, no one's gonna want your website, like nobody's gonna use it. So, they do a lot of that and they make sure like everything works properly. Because you think that an app is just all coding, but it's also the aesthetic. Like when you look at an app, like if it looks old, I'm not gonna probably download it, So like, so yeah, that's normally what I see.
Okay.
So yes, that is so the UX user experience. I Googled it and I was on point too, because we focus a lot on the design, the process, and the function, right? And so if we click this button, does it do what it's supposed to do, right? Meaning
Exactly.
as the color, does it actually do what it's supposed to do? Like, you ever notice the little handicap in a lot of on major web pages? There's like a little handicap button, right?
Mhm.
Does it supposed to do what it's supposed to do, right? Is it supposed to read it out loud? Is it supposed, like stuff like that? That's what UX design do. You have also noticed that Facebook is always changing, right? Because
Yeah.
Facebook is saying,
Right.
hey, we need to be competitive. We need to, I don't know, who do we even compete against? But, it's like whatever platforms out there, we need to make sure we're still marketable, that people still want to download us. And on
Right.
top of that, they use Figma, right?
Yeah.
They use this platform to do all that work and then be like, okay, it's doing what's supposed to do. And then they say, all right, engineers, now you code it off, right? Like, like
Right.
now you do your part.
Yeah. Yeah.
We did our part. Now you gotta do your part.
You just got to make it work. Yeah.
Tell me this though. So for like many entry level professionals, what certification will help them jumpstart their career as an app developer? Would it be a Microsoft certification or a cloud cert?
So
What
it
is
all
it?
depends on, yeah, it depends on what they want to do. Like, so if they do want to go into cloud, like if they want to work at Facebook has a bunch of like, certification programs and certificates you can take like
Hmm.
before you even start, like, and they'll like having those things and going through those classes. They actually have a mobile app, like track that you can take online for free. It's like a 3-month track or something like that. The real one, the big one, like that you
Hmm.
can take, and they'll actually show you how a mobile app is actually made from start to finish, like, and how to code different things like inside of an application. So like it just depends really on where they want to go. Like, Android, like are you trying to, like work on the Android side, because we have engineers that are just Android, we have engineers that are just iOS,
Right.
like, so
Right.
um
You got an iOS developer. Speaking of iOS, I taught the course at Trinum, app development with Swift. Do any
mhm.
of y'all use Swift by any chance?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I've been using it when I since like 2013, like a little bit after it just started coming out, or I think no 2014 or 15, I think, before it started, like a little bit after it started coming out. Before they had all the playgrounds and the all the extra stuff now.
Mhm.
It was hard back then, like to try to figure out how to use it. But now it's so much easier to like code in Swift. I actually
Yeah,
love like
yeah.
using it.
I found Swift to be pretty easy too. Much
Yeah,
easier than say Java, Python. I like Java and Python, but you
yeah.
know, I even like the C sharp too. But Swift was pretty straightforward. You just had to
Hmm.
make sure your summer letter runs when you know when you compile it. But
Hmm.
other than that, man, it was cool. I still use it too. Uh,
Oh,
I'm saying so. You know what? I know
I
Taisha
think we
said she's
lost.
coming back. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
she in
okay.
a bad area. Tell me, I know you had a chance to teach in Russia.
Hmm.
Tell me, how did you actually come about teaching in Russia? And like, what did you enjoy the most about it?
Yeah, so I like a lot of like Tyeshia said, like you stumble on stuff. Like so I like
Yeah.
I'm always looking for opportunities
Hmm.
to like grow and kind of do something different. Like
Right.
that's always my thing. Like even though I'm in tech, like I'm also like I design, like I'm a fashion designer. So like right now, like I have a dress that's being made in Vietnam for someone that hired us to be able to make a dress. Like so as always, I'm always looking for ways to like just do something new, like the bucket list Taisha was talking about. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I want to do that. Like, so
Check
what
it
do I
out.
need to do to
Yeah,
go
check it
to
out.
do
Yeah.
that? So like that's kind of, so I
Yeah.
I kind of started like, with this company, well, not company, but she's really more like an international institution. And they teach all over the place basically. And she, she looked me up on LinkedIn. She found me on LinkedIn. Some of the stuff I did, she gave me an interview and was like, "Hey, can you start Monday?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Like,
Absolutely.
like
I
I'll
sure
start
did. You
Monday.
want me to,
Yeah, right. That's what I told her. I was like, I'll start right now if you want me to start. Like,
right now.
so,
Right now.
right. So I love just the kids. The kids were they love to learn. Like they love to learn about like culture. Like even like some of them like wanted to know about hip hop and stuff like that here because they don't get a lot of that there. Like it's funny because like one of the biggest artists, you wouldn't even believe who the biggest artist, like one of the biggest artists is like in Russia. Like right now, 50 Cent is like one of the biggest artists like in Russia. And he hasn't made music in like so long. Like
Mhm.
so, it's just the culture that you get to see, and the people that
I
the kids that
mean,
you talk to,
you
they're
know,
different.
that's almost just like Michael Jordan tennis shoes still selling out. He ain't played ball in like 30 years. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
he played
Exactly.
ball since like 2002. But
Yep.
his shoes gonna pack the mall out every time. And resale is
Right.
even higher. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, yep.
So tell me, oh yeah, speaking of this, so using LinkedIn, to connect with top earning professionals like ourselves, for instance. But you want to reach out to more professionals like at Microsoft, LinkedIn, Salesforce, asking them to join your project or workshop. How would a candidate go about doing that? Because I'm interested in doing the same thing with my workshops. I'm trying to get connected to more of those professionals, but to me, it's more than just sending a message because I think they had to kind of move you to their top priority to even respond. So
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
I leverage myself to get seen?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so one of my buddies from college, we both went to Purdue, and he actually had a huge podcast, and now he speaks like at different conferences and stuff like that. And he started with like, just us, like just his friends, like, and he just made content every single day. Like he made content about like what he was doing, the work, some of the stuff that he was doing at Boeing, like just like where he was at, like the things he was the people that he was trying to get with, and then like people started like messaging him in his inbox, like started asking him like, "Hey, like we would love to have you like come out and speak." Like, or we would like, and I mean, it didn't take like, it took a while. Like it took like 6, 8 months for him to really get some traction. But like now every post that he posts, like he's getting like 14,000 like interactions, like within like a few hours, like just because he's been consistent And that's what I've seen is like,
Wow.
it's the consistency. A lot of I leverage
Inconsistent.
LinkedIn just to like make those connections really. And a lot of my stuff that I do is like through people that I know and like making those connections.
Right.
But I don't really make content. But that's the only way I've seen like someone kind of bring those kind of like level of people in. And I'm sure Tyeshia, like a bunch of people at a bunch of different places. So
Mhm.
you probably know all kinds of,
Absolutely.
other ways as well.
Absolutely. So pretty much
So
staying consistent, keep producing more content. I should probably drop an episode every day now,
I
huh?
don't know about every day, but maybe like,
Once a
I'm like,
week.
that's a lot for you. Like, but
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if you think that that's something you can do, probably like, I
Nah,
don't
man, I think I'm gonna keep it every week.
that's a lot. Yeah,
It
that's a
will
lot
be,
to do.
man. No.
I think Taisha, you were saying
Mhm,
something.
so I would say is consistency and pushing out good content, right? So
mhm.
like for what worked for me, right, was
Mhm.
me showing up. So I
Showing up.
leverage Clubhouse. I leverage Clubhouse
Are you still on there?
by,
Are you still on Clubhouse?
oh, of course. I'm always on Clubhouse. But I moved from talking into those like recruiting and referring rooms to more into, like I said, more into nonprofit, right? Because that's
Okay.
where
All right.
I have a master's in nonprofit management and leadership. And so I started to join those rooms now than before. But what I was doing was going into Clubhouse, going into those rooms where, people was pitching themselves about they wanting a job, or recruiters and CEOs coming in saying, hey, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. And what I did a recap. I took so much notes, I recapped it and posted it on LinkedIn,
Mm,
right? There was rooms about how to do your LinkedIn over, right?
mhm.
And that was from my friend who actually worked at PlayStation as a data analyst. Oh, he
PlayStation.
moved to net. Matter of fact left PlayStation and now he's at Netflix. And
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
so, as a data analyst, and right, he was working at PlayStation and another big company, and then left that one company, stayed at PlayStation, and just got to Netflix. And he was doing these major rooms on Clubhouse. I was going into those rooms, taking notes, good notes, and posting it on LinkedIn. So that was my content, right? So if I'm doing a recap of who's hiring, right, and tagging people and tagging companies, of course I was getting tons of likes and stuff like that, right? So then
Mhm.
that's how I got invites as well. I got the invite to talk at that conference, got
Mm.
the invites to, hey, can you come on Clubhouse and tell people how you got your job, right?
Mm.
Or like how to leverage LinkedIn. And I tell people,
Right.
Tom, put out content. If you got a hobby, right? If you
Put it
got a
out.
hobby,
Yes.
talk about it. And right now, what my consistency and my content is, I have I search LinkedIn for, I call it the hidden job market, right? So I
Uh-huh.
search LinkedIn for jobs and that hiring managers in a post saying I'm hiring, right? But they don't have the likes, there's no comments, there's nothing, right? So I reshare it and it's called Hot Off the Press. I put what the job title is it remote or is on site, and I reshare it. And then I think I post about 20 of those days,
Mhm.
right? And then on top of that, I still post content about nonprofit. I post content about transitioning out of the military. I still do those other posts, but
Right.
what I'm getting hits and likes and
Mhm.
the traction is me sharing these jobs that are hidden. And let me tell you, it works. I tell
You know
people this is
what?
how you do it. When I reshare the
That's
job,
true.
I when I reshare the job, let me tell you, people are gonna be like, "Oh, here's Ty. She shared a good job," and then people jump on it. And so I tell people, as soon as I share a job, or if I don't share the job and I tag your name in that post, in that person's post, you better apply.
Mm-hmm.
I have helped a handful of people get their 9 to 5 job by doing that. And I tell people, and then this is funny, this is crazy. There was people that didn't tag, but they was following me. I had 2 people come in my inbox and say, "Hey, you don't know me, we're not connected, but I saw you tag somebody else. It showed up on my feed. I applied for the job and got the job."
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
So let
crazy.
me tell you, so you have to leverage LinkedIn. You got to leverage the content. So for you, I would have been posting everything about my podcast. Hey, I'm looking for somebody at Apple. Guess what? When you tag
That's
Apple, everybody that work at Apple is going to get
yeah. I
it's
want
going to
speak
get on
too.
their feed,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah, still do it.
somebody's going to be like, "Oh yeah, I would love to be on your podcast," right?
That's
You
Something
what's
you
up.
tag.
I want to mention really quick on that note, Taisha, that you just said, like also just cold inboxing people as well. Not in just a way of just asking for things, but like, making it like a mutual thing, like, hey, like I want you to like be on my podcast and talk more about yourself. Like, because that's how I've gotten like,
State the
connections. Like I don't
subject.
what's that?
No kind of stating the subject, the topic that we're gonna speak on too. Kind of cool. That's out the invitation, pretty much, right?
Yeah, so like the invitation, yeah, like so I don't like always like connect with people, but I'll message them because sometimes people are like, hey, I don't know who you are, I don't want to connect with you, but I'll message them. So I have LinkedIn Premium, so I'll just message them like through there and just be like, hey, like I'm looking to talk to someone that has these experiences or whatever, like those kind of things, no matter what it is that I'm looking for, like just so that I can like, and then sometimes they'll respond, sometimes they won't, and like sometimes like for me it's like a I would say a numbers game, but you don't want to scare people off at the same time either. So I don't
Yeah,
know,
that's right. Uh,
Taisha, I don't know if you have you like would you use that method or
how long should a candidate's LinkedIn profile be?
you said
You
Like
said do what?
how long should the no should the intro be? Like you don't want to have anything too long that kind of I guess kind of bore people, have them disinterested. Like
Oh,
you know,
it's three. I say 3 sentences, right? You
listen.
say your name if you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or and sometimes, let me tell you, I have no problem cold calling, right?
Me
Cold
neither.
emailing, cold texting.
Me neither.
So usually, what I do is, right, when LinkedIn Premium, you have people that you can see when people view your profile,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when people view my profile and you don't connect, oh, you're rude. So I follow up with
Exactly.
I follow up with a connection with a note and said, "Hey, thank you for viewing my profile. Feedback is always welcome. Let's connect."
Right, right.
And I'll call you out. I'll call you out,
And you
right?
know what? That's
I'll call you out. And that's simple. You don't have
that's
to
the
go in depth
main.
why. You could say, you could connect with people with a note and say, "Hey, my name is so and so. I have an awesome podcast. Here's the link to my podcast. I would love for you to be on my podcast. Let's talk about what you do at your company and how can you help our community." Right?
And that's the main reason
So
why.
if your mission is to get more Black people into tech, then that's what you say. That's what you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's people out here that's shy and be like, "Oh, I would love to give a referral, but I'm shy." Well, guess what? Come on my podcast and let's hand out some referrals. Did you know last year at my company, I handed out 465 referrals and 36 people got hired? If you want a referral, I'm giving it to you. Why? I don't care. It's your job to sell the job. What I'm going to
right?
do is probably say, "Listen, you ain't no software engineer. Like
Right.
I'm not doing a referral for that. But I'm gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna read your resume. But I'm gonna be like,
Yeah.
listen,
But
if
see,
you
that's the
are a
main reason
software
I want to
engineer,
do the
then your
LinkedIn
resume
premium.
should reflect
Yeah.
it.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to do the LinkedIn premium too to find out who's actually looking at my profile because I feel I might have missed some connections, by not knowing who's viewing it.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
said, you know
Yep.
what? I think it's definitely worth it. Worked at a
Yeah,
brisk
and I
cut.
mean, you also get a lot more courses as well with LinkedIn Premium. You get a lot of
Mhm.
the courses that they normally don't let you have on the LinkedIn Learning. So
Oh,
that's why I use it too, is to learn
which
like the
courses?
stuff that I don't.
Which courses? Like for instance, do they not advertise? Would it be anything dealing with ethical hacking, maybe?
No,
Penetration testing.
so ethical hacking is actually, I think, an open one.
Mm.
Penetration testing, I think, is on a track. So they have a track. So like, say if you want to learn how to be a solution architect, they have like 6 videos over like 35 hours of stuff that you need to know
Mhm.
to be able. And then you get a certificate at the end of saying like, hey, I finished this whole like pathway, right? So that's the nice thing, because that's how I learned how, like, I didn't, when I got my job, like I didn't know anything about Azure. I didn't know anything about like any of the
Yeah.
stuff that I was actually doing, but
Right.
they were like, you can solve problems. So like, if you can learn how to do this, then we'll, bring you in. And like Tyeshia was saying, like hitting the books when you first got there. Like, so I think LinkedIn Premium is good for that. So like, if you get a job and you don't know what you're doing, like LinkedIn Premium can teach you exactly what you need to do before they actually start testing you on what you should be doing. So like, it was helpful for me at least.
Yes, indeed. What
Same
was
here. I use LinkedIn Learning all the time. Like I
yeah,
want to learn how to become a product owner, right?
Yep. Yep.
I know what a product manager do, but I'm like, what does a product owner does,
Mm-hmm.
right?
mhm,
So right now, I'm helping my product manager to clean up the backlog, and I was like, oh. So when I was researching, matter of fact, when I was renewing my Scrum Master certificate, they said product owners clean up backlogs,
Yep.
right? They clean up backlogs, they organize, they figure out what's important to the stakeholder,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm like, wait a minute, I think I got this. And guess what I did? I jumped on LinkedIn Learning. I started with the tracks, and I said, oh, I'm stepping up. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be a product owner. I want product owner money. I want product owner
Yep.
money. I don't want project management money. I want product owner
yes.
money,
Yeah.
right? There's a difference. There's a
Yeah.
big difference in
There's
pay,
there's a
Tell
big
us,
right?
difference.
and tell us what the difference is in pay.
Listen, here's another one. I
Numerical.
don't gatekeep. Oh, I don't gatekeep, right? So right now, last year I pulled in 85,000, right? I pulled in
What?
85,000 last year as a project
Hmm.
manager,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I started off making like 65 when they hired me, right? And then I got a yearly bonus, company bonus, and pay raise. Then I racked up on a bunch of referrals. I got in about like a bunch of referrals on top of that. And so I was like, damn, okay, cool, right? The product owners I know at my company started, they first day in the door, they was making 85. You know, I'm
Yeah.
like, dang, it took me a year to make 85.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've been at the company 2 years,
And
so
what I'll
there's a
say,
big difference.
yeah, there's a big difference. And one thing that I give some of the guys like I mentor and stuff that are trying to come up through like the tech, like a good way to get a large salary but live in a smaller city is if you're in, like, for instance, like right now I'm getting paid California salaries for, because if the job that I work for is actually in California. So
Hmm.
if you find jobs like in places where they have to pay the salary of the place where the job is, then like you can live in somewhere like North Carolina where like the cost of living is like 60K a year and make 150,000, like, and feel like you're like super wealthy, right? You can buy a house like that's like $500,000, like easily, like, because now you're making more. So it's a little hack for like remote working. Like if you're working remote and like you actually live somewhere else and you want a tech job, it's good to be in a place. And then like if you don't have to go back to the office, like it's okay like to go and move to another city or move somewhere else, like as long as like nobody is gonna ask you to come back like and live inside the office.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen
So
that, but
no, so that is so true. So when I first started, right, the dude was like, what's the biggest city near you? I'm like, oh, Orlando. He like, He did his calculations. Da-da-da-da-da. He said, all
Mhm.
right, I only can offer you this. And I'm like, shoot, coming from the military, this is more than I ever had,
Right,
right?
right.
And so that's cool. But then when I talk to somebody that lives in California,
Mhm.
working out of California, they like, yo, it's law. They only could offer
You
me
have to.
$90,000,
Yep.
right? California, Colorado is one of them.
Yep. Colorado is.
There's
Yep.
a salary that is in place.
Hmm.
Like, oh, if you want to fire people, you got to pay them all they leave they occur or what they were
Yep.
supposed to earn,
Yep.
right? So let me tell you, there's people at my job that so we did some layoffs last year. You know, they didn't lay off nobody in California and Colorado and all these other places. You know
Yep.
why? Because the
Why?
company was like, dang, we screwed up. We don't want to lay off these people because I got to pay them.
Hmm. Yep.
So I'm gonna lay off everybody else, everybody else that don't got no laws, right?
Yep.
It sounds like the
And
layoffs
so,
kind of hit mostly the South and the West Coast. You know what I mean? That would sound the layoffs really, really hit the hardest.
Yeah,
What do y'all think?
Midwest, the Midwest and the South, like, like for instance, like one of the people that were on our team, she got laid off. And she was in Kentucky, I think. No, she was in Tennessee, and there's no loss or anything for that, or nothing that really protects her. Like here, like Colorado
yeah,
has so many laws about protection for workers, like, and like you can't just fire someone. Like, and a lot of companies won't like they won't hire someone from Colorado. Like there was a lot of jobs that I got they started going through it. Like I got an offer last year from a company like to be a solution architect, and then we got through the process and they're like, hey, where do you live? And I'm like, oh, I don't think that should be a problem. I told them. They're like, oh, wait a minute. And they're like, hey, let me call you back. And then he called me back like maybe 10 minutes later and was like, we can't give you a job unless you're willing to move to California. Like not California, what was it? Seattle, I think. It was Seattle. And he was
Yeah.
like, like, because if they hired me, then they had to tell me, one, what the actual salary was, and then two, they had to tell me like they couldn't just fire me if they wanted to, like just right out the blue. So
Mm.
it was that's something to know. Like if you want to be protected, like there's certain places that you can actually live. Like they're more expensive to live, but like you'll get paid what you should get paid. So
Right, man. So, question for both of you all: what is the most difficult challenge that you face while being unapologetically yourself?
I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah,
I like that one.
the
Yeah.
most difficult challenge for being unapologetically yourself, because I preach to remain professional, but being true to who you are.
Yeah.
Let yourself
Yep.
just shine. If
Yep.
you like, just like the music I'm playing right now, you like
Hmm.
Return of the Mac, you like Puff Dad, if you like
Hmm.
Master P, that's fine. I
Yep.
mean, like,
Yep.
you should be judged by that. You should be judged by who you are or what value that you bring to the organization.
Right. Yep. And
You
that's
know?
and I will say so it's two things for me. Like one is my family. So like I'm very like I try not to work more than like I should, like in certain times during the day, because so I actually keep my 2-year-old home with me. Like I work remotely, but he like goes with me everywhere. Like so like I
Yeah.
tell them, I'm like, hey, like I have to do this at this time. Like if you can't respect that, then I'm not
Uh,
going to be able to work here. Like that's not something
uh,
I'm going to be able to do.
uh-huh.
And like being a family, like for me, like is very important. Like because I grew up that way. Like my family was super important to me. So like, and I'm like, I want to make sure, like for my kids, like I'm there for, soccer games, for, like anything that they have going on. Like I want to be there. I don't want to be working 16 hours. Like,
Yeah,
that's why I quit
exactly.
my old jobs.
That's
Like, so
yeah,
um
that's not good.
yeah, and I finally found a balance, like at a place that will actually, grant that, and then for me also, like just, being like you said, being myself at work, like being able to like speak my mind on things and
Mm-hmm.
not like someone to be like not to receive backlash,
Mm-hmm.
to know like, hey, like I can say, like I'm not gonna be disrespectful, but I can say, what I want to say about whatever is going on, and I'm not going to receive like backlash, and if I do, like I'm still being myself. So
Absolutely. Also too, why do you think the IT leads become threatened by some of their younger or more skilled team members. And instead of trying to foster their growth, sign them to online learning that'll help them up their skills or help them qualify for promotions. They instead try to help them get fired. Why do you
Oh,
think?
I know why.
Why? Tell me.
Because you know why?
Tell me.
It's hard to teach old dog a new trick, right?
It is.
So for me, right, I I'm gonna throw my age out. I'm 31 years old, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I I just got out of school, quote unquote, right?
Yeah.
I got 2 masters. I'm actually getting my doctorates in strategic leadership. I'm 3 classes away,
All right.
right?
Go ahead.
So
I'm
so
right with
so
you.
I'm
I'm right with
so think about it. I'm in school. I'm learning what's new, what's in 2023 is happening. I'm learning all the new tools. So guess what? When I come in to the table and my manager, he's not, I don't know exactly how old he is, but he's older than me,
you. You know what?
But
I'm gonna
so
say early mid 50s. Let's say early
listen,
mid
I
50s.
think
Yeah.
I think he's maybe 40, middle 40, right?
Okay. Okay.
So, but think about this, right? He's a PMO. He's our head of program management, right? And say I come in and be like, oh my goodness, this is what's new, this is what's fresh. We should do this, we should do that. And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
Things been working fine. But I'm like, well, it's not efficient, it's not
Right.
fast, it's not
Right.
giving the results that we need,
They don't
right?
think
Get
anything's wrong with
example, get
Windows
example.
7.
There's right, but get example. There's templates, there's software that does certain things in a program, in a PMO, right, department.
Mm-hmm.
There are, right, but guess what? People like, nah, we don't want to invest, we want human touch, right? So then we go in, create templates versus, let me tell you, my manager today was like, hey, we need to create a template on, like, a RACI template, right, on roles and responsibilities. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just ask Google to show me some templates.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna look at a bunch of them and I'm like, these two look good, combine them. And I'm gonna be like, oh, here's Tyeshia's template, assisted by Google, And so he's probably saying, like, dang, Ty, you smart. Sure am, right? Because guess why? Because I'm younger, right? So we don't want to work so hard. We don't want to work hard. Like, we watch people work crazy hard. Think about computers. You remember back in the day, I don't know, like, people was actually can't troubleshoot from afar. They gotta come to your computer, sit at your desk. Back in the day, I think my mom worked at like this health center, and their IT person always had to come to the computer, come to the desk. Like, remoting in was non-existent.
No. No.
Right? Now you got the person, when I call IT, they be like, you sure you restarted your computer? You be like, yeah, I did. They're like, you did it, you're a liar. You hit the power button. Right? So thing is, so of course, when they feel somebody is overpowering and overstepping their lane and coming with fresh ideas to the table, they're like, yo, we got to get rid of that dude because he coming for my job. But here's the problem. I want this person to come for my job. That means I need to move and go somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the problem we having, right? I see it all the time when somebody, I see the meetings all the time. And when somebody feels threatened, they argue a lot. And I'd be like, first of all, and like somebody told me, like, oh, I don't need you to micromanage me, Ty. I like, first of all, I don't want to micromanage you anyway. Like, I barely want to be on this phone call with you. But guess what? And let me tell you, and that goes back to the previous question, right? About being yourself and not being scared. And listen, I am the first one to speak up. I'm the first one to tell you no. I don't care what your job title is.
Really?
Right? Because you know why? Because you know why?
I want to ask something real quick. So, like, how do you tell your leads or your supervisor no? How do you say?
You know why? I say no. They be like, Ty, do you think you have some time? No. You know why I say no? because I'm already working on 10 other projects. How are you going to come? You already see my workload because I share a Trello board with you. You see what the stuff is I'm doing currently that is actually up to date. But you want to add another task?
Yeah.
That don't even make sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So guess what? No, I don't have the time. How
Yep.
about this? I'm going to put it in my backlog with the other
There you
8
go.
things you
That's
asked me to do, and I will figure it out. And so
Yeah.
there's a difference. Think
I'm
about
glad
the
you
time
said
people
that.
be like, they're overworked, they overwhelmed, they like, oh, I don't get paid enough. You choose
Exactly. Yep.
to let these
Yep.
people run over you. Let me tell you, there's this one, oh goodness. This right now, when somebody be like, oh, Ty would do it, I'm like, Ty won't do it. And if you really want me to do it, there's a process for a project manager to be on your team. I don't care if it's the simplest task. And then and you know what? And I say here is the process. You fill out this form. It'll go to my manager. Then my manager decide if I could do it or not. And guess what? 9 out of 10, he's going to say, "Oh, let me ask Ty." Right?
No
Even
way.
today, he said, and you know why? And you should, and not feel some type of way. I told y'all earlier, I sit on the Scrum team and we build connectors. Right, like in the we brought in a new team. We was getting this team up, but we was going through a big communication problem. Right, so guess what? The product manager was like, "Oh, I don't want to step on our head of product, chief of innovation. I don't want to go over my manager's head. I don't just want to go straight to him." I'm like, "Oh, too late. I already slacked him." I already slacked him. And then he said, "Oh, Ty, thank you for letting me know. Let's set up a meeting and let's have a conversation on how to fix this." And then in the call, the chief of innovation said, "We have a problem. We have customers. We need to fix it now." Right? If we didn't set that call up, we would have been in this circle of drama and communication problem, right? Like he was like, "Ty put out a communication plan. We need to follow it. If anybody on this call have a problem, let's talk. Let's talk now. Speak your mind, right?" But you shouldn't be afraid. You should not be afraid to speak up because your job is on the line. And if you are afraid and you think your job is on the line, guess what?
A lot of people don't have
you
that
shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be there. Don't work there.
But see, what I'm getting at is that a lot of people don't have that confidence or understanding of, delegating their work tasks or speaking up about being overwhelmed and having, enough to do already. You're right. You're right. They shouldn't overload you. But a lot of people feel like, you know what, I got to keep my head down and get this done anyway. That's yeah. I mean, I've been at
I was gonna say, yeah. I was,
myself.
It's crazy when I started this position. I was like that. Like, so I was the first one in, so I knew the most about like how everything worked because I basically built it. Like, so like I was always taking on more tasks, and my boss, like one day he came to me and was like he was like, "I don't want you to burn out." He was like, if there's something that you don't want to do, he was like, "You already do enough." He's like, "If something that you don't want to do," he was like, "just say no." He was like, "What are they gonna do?" He's like, "If they say no," and he's like, and then they have some kind of fuss, he was like, "Come to me, like tell them to come to me." Like, because he was like, the worst thing I can do is have you burn out and then leave. So like it comes to a certain point, like where leaders have to be, also like for those people like you said that are shy, that won't do those things, to actually be a leader and say like, "I understand that you're not going to do it because you don't have those skills yet. Like, so I'm going to show you like how to use those skills properly and show you like, hey, like you can't allow yourself to get burned out." Because I was like that. Like I had like 32 projects that I was working on like at one point, and I was trying to do all of them all at once, because all of the two, the girl I was training and the other guy, like they weren't there yet. And like I was trying to just take on everything. And he was like, if something falls, he was like, let it fall. Like he was like, you have to care less, because he's like, you have to care more about you and your health than you care about, your job. And he's like, that's hard to say, because he's like, this is our job, but he's like, you have to. Like, so I was like, that's the best advice. Yeah.
I finally learned that at one of my previous jobs about 6 years ago when I was network tech for the Alabama court system. A guy by the name of Mr. Fred Lilly. He just really stressed it to me about putting myself first. He said,
Mm-hmm.
you need to speak up. And you can tell that I want to speak up, but I wouldn't because
Mm-hmm.
fear getting in trouble or even losing my job. And he said, listen, you don't get in trouble speaking up for yourself because if you don't do it, nobody else will. And
Exactly.
if
Yeah.
you're overworked, say that because
Mm-hmm.
you come first. And he kept telling me, stress will kill you. Stress will kill you quicker than bad
Closed mouths
or
don't
whatever.
get
What
fed.
else you get? Yeah,
Amen.
it
Yeah.
will. It really
Yeah.
will. And from then on, I said, you know what? I just kind of got like tired. I just got about it back. You know what I mean?
Like, say what you, yeah, say it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
said, hey,
You
you
have
know
to.
what? If it don't work, it just don't work. But guess
Yep.
what? These 99 other things I've done do work. So this one thing
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna cross me out. You know.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yep. Yep. And one thing too to kind of prevent that too, like is something a guy told me when I
Yeah.
was back in HVAC. He was like, become so valuable that it's, they wouldn't think twice to, even try to get rid of you. Unless, like, of course, if you did something that was like gonna cause them a lawsuit, of course, but like, you would be the last person that they would ever think to lay
Mhm.
off or get rid of, because you become valuable enough to where it's like, we can't, like, we need you more than you need us, like,
Mhm.
at that point,
Yeah. And that's why I begin to understand more. It's like, if it's that easy for me to lose my job, then clearly it's not a place for me anyway. I should be valued a lot more than that.
Yep. Yep.
Like it should not be so cutthroat or so pins and needles in here. It
Mm-hmm.
just shouldn't be. And
Yep.
You shouldn't be tippy toeing around people,
no,
right?
no,
Exactly.
You
You
should
shouldn't
not
have
be.
to.
You
no,
shouldn't
Yeah.
be
no,
like, oh
no,
no, like, oh,
uh-uh,
I'm scared.
nah,
Listen,
uh-uh.
I tell
Nah,
people all the
that ain't best for
time,
you no way.
you don't pay these bills over here. I ain't tippy toeing around nobody.
Uh-uh.
You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
swear, and you gotta be in that mindset, because let me tell you, I see people roll over at work, and then they be like, Ty, I'm leaving. I'm like, you should. you know, and it's
You shouldn't
sad
be
to
here. Yeah.
like, yeah. And then, or like one girl, she left, and I was like, so what you doing? She said, listen, I'm going back to school. I'm like, more power to you. Go to
Yeah.
school.
Go to school. Yep.
And they probably felt like that's the only option I had, was to go to school,
Yeah.
because they probably was they was overworked at work. Matter of fact, I was teamed up with this girl, and she was like, Ty, I'm exhausted. I'm like, you need to start saying no. She was like, but I can't. I'm like, how about this? I sure can. I emailed her boss. I was like, listen, I'm supposed to be on this project too, but I feel like we need to take a little break and reset. And then she was like, oh, that's fine. And
You
that's
still there? You still there?
that's it. That's it. It's conversation. You're allowing so, and you can't be scared, right? Oh yeah, you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
I
right
think
here.
you.
I'm listening. Right here.
Oh,
We
okay.
got you. We got you.
But I feel like it's changing the mindset, right? We especially for, I feel like, for people of color, like, we're always worried, right? About what we say and how we say it, how it
Do
might,
we do?
you know,
How we're
and
perceived.
uh,
How we're
yeah,
perceived,
right.
most
Oh,
of all.
we're like gonna be the angry person and all this stuff. Let me tell
Mm-hmm.
you, I sit on my veterans and support ERG committee, and we met with our leaderships, our ELTs, and I was like, listen, I have an issue. My issue is that we put on this front of, we love hiring military, we love supporting the military, but are we really living up to those values of that mission, right? And then we was having this back and forth, and then my chief of innovation, he slacked me and said, listen, I want to apologize. I should be doing more. I should be doing this, right? And I'm like, you know what? I understand. Like sometimes our priorities for companies said it's a business, right? But then but then also what's sometimes is, yeah, you could drive a business, but what's driving this business is your employees,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how do you keep us here? How do you keep us here, right? It's
Mhm.
retention,
Right.
is making sure that this is the best place to work at.
Right.
And so, right. And so last year, I'm going to share this video with y'all. I did a military makeover for my company, right? And one of the other young ladies that did it with me, she was like, you know what? I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to say nothing else, because she felt like she was a pawn, right? Like the
Mm.
company was putting on this front. And then we expressed that. I said, listen, so is that if close my don't get better, right? Moving into this new FY, we said, listen,
Let me see.
to do more, to be heard, listen, leadership's accountable, right? You do it. And that's how you speak up. That's how you help and fed. You have to speak up. Like, that's like even about salary, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we talk about, people don't like talking about salary.
Yes,
Like
you
Yeah.
they
do.
think like, oh,
You
it's
definitely
okay. I
have to
can
talk
make
about salary.
50,000. We, but some people be like, oh, I didn't want to step on nobody's toes, so I will accept the $50,000. I'm like, listen, no,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
like no, ask
Mm.
for that 60 or that 70.
Exactly. Please do.
Yeah.
You see, you know
So
what?
I tell
I'm
people
gonna say
time,
this.
start
I
high,
gotta add
start
is that
high, and then work your way
yeah,
down.
you know what? We have to ask for that salary that equals our worth. All right.
Yep.
Whether it's entry
Yep.
level, mid level, or senior level. All right. We have to do what's best for us because that's why we work so hard. Okay, we work so hard not only to get the job, but to continue our education, continue learning the
Mhm.
new protocols, new trends and technologies. Like I said, learning chat GPT, sorry. Learning Linux, okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
learning automation. Those are not easy subjects. Like I said,
Yeah.
being in IT, I feel like, man, I feel like I can learn anything. I compete with
Yeah.
Socrates, Michelangelo, anybody. No, I'm bet on me. All right, I'm
Yeah,
betting on me
exactly. Yep.
because the certification is not easy. Okay, so
Yeah.
like I
Yep.
said, with that being said, as for that 60, first what I like to do, look up the salary range where you going Glassdoor, Indeed, wherever. Look
Mhm.
on the company's salary range. Okay, at that range between 50,000 up to 100. Okay, that's a wide scale. You need to be somewhere in the middle. I'm gonna say 85. Me being me, I'm gonna shoot my shot and say 90.
Yeah.
90. I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
you paying it, you paying them 100. How much money does the company budget?
Mhm.
I have an imagination. They can pay that. Then I know they make way more than that.
Right.
Just,
Right.
that's
Yep.
how I think.
Yep.
Especially if it's an entry level job, right? I feel
Yeah,
like if
they,
it's an
they can
entry
pay
level
that. Then
job,
they make it
I
more than that.
I always say start at the highest. So if the range
Right.
is, you start at the top range, and if you say I'm worth in this entry level job at this top dollar, then 9 out of 10 they're gonna be like, sure. And then on top of that, I also tell people, ask about bonuses, ask about
Mhm.
referral bonuses, because that adds up. So
Yes.
I started off at 65, right?
Or
At the top of my job.
relocation.
But then I also got a $10,000 bonus, yearly bonus. I got a company bonus of another $6,000. And then I gave out so many referrals, that bonus money started hitting my bank account. Blah, blah, blah. So guess what? I'm getting paid. Look, I'm
Hey,
getting paid.
when you got paid, what you said again? That time? What you said you got paid?
so
But
so last so last year, like I said, when I did my taxes, I rounded off about like 85, 86, right? But
yeah.
I'm telling you, I gave out so many referrals. That money was hitting my bank account. I was like, ooh, it's a good pay week for me. Ooh, baby, getting steak dinner tonight, you know? But I tell people the time, like if it's entry level, ask for top dollar, but then also ask for, hey, is there a company bonus? Is there a performance bonus? Is this yearly? Like, do we got a referral? And then I tell people like that referral program my job had offered, I felt like it was a job. When people was like, hey, anybody giving out referrals? Sure am. Send me your email, send me your job, your resume. Here's the jobs. What job do you want? It was like a job. And guess why? Because I tell
Yeah.
I'm about my hustle. I'm about two things. I'm about my hustle. And guess what? I'm trying to help you out. Because you know why? I ain't no gatekeeper. What am I keeping
There we
the
go.
referral in my pocket for? Right?
Right.
So if y'all in positions
Right.
to help lift, help people climb, do
Uplift.
it.
Mhm.
Right?
Yep.
So we're teaching our youth
Absolutely.
to code. We're teaching
Right,
our youth
exactly.
to create their own jobs.
Mhm.
You know, like we gotta put and help people, put people in position. Like this mindset of, oh, not speaking up. That's another thing. Speak up. I'm this one girl that I helped get the job. She's like, oh, I don't want to talk. Okay, cool. I'm gonna set us a meeting and I'll facilitate. But you need to tell Adam, that could be an ass sometimes, that how you feel.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
And
And
then he'll probably said, why you never came to me before?
right.
You
Yeah.
know, you
Exactly.
people just
Yep.
have misunderstanding, right? The lack
Mhm.
of communication, a misunderstanding. You know, like we wait and complain after, and then by that time it's already too late.
Yeah.
You
Already
know,
too
we
late.
already
Yep.
hate our job. We already hate the position we in. Why do I gotta do this? Why I gotta do that? You know, and so that's why what I have definitely learned some lessons from being in the military, than
Mhm.
being in a corporate world,
Mhm.
and then
So
seeing
tell me,
how people are being treated, right? So
what
in the
is one lesson?
military,
Give, give us real quick.
military,
What is what I said? Tell me real quick. Like, what is
there's
one of
a
those lessons?
difference.
One of.
One of the lessons is in the military, there's structure, right?
Okay.
We know our career path, right? So we know we get promoted based on performance, based on getting evaluated, right? And this is either going to be every couple of 2 to 3 years, maybe 3 to 4 years, right? It's based off of you, right? But it's laid out. There's a structure where they said, hey, if you complete these courses, you complete these courses, you do this, this is how you stand out of your peers, this is how you move up to the next rank, right? It's structured. There's a process, there's policies, there's regulations, there's everything. How you wear your hair, how you put your pants on, how your nails cut, your earrings, right? There's everything. There's a rule for everything. When you go into corporate world, then right. Oh, matter of fact, in the military, there's a way how we talk to people. So I can't tell. No, I can, but I can't tell my supervisor no. But I could probably tell him, hey, not at this moment, but once I'm finished doing X, Y, and Z, I will get to it, right? And then I will go in to say, is this a priority for you, right? If there's a mission, then it's, you know, based on your job in the military, it's different, right? Like how you say no and how you talk to people professionally and how you do stuff, right? In the corporate world, I see it's different. Sometimes there's no structure, there's no process. We're learning as we go. We could talk to our help desk people any type of way. Why my shit not working? That's not how you talk to IT people. That's not how you talk to these help desk people
Yeah.
that's trying to help. You know, the disrespect is what bothers me. Like, you
Mhm.
know, like we don't keep each other accountable, right? There's no, sometimes we overwhelm and overwork people, right? So when they go on vacation for 2 weeks, oh, they're on vacation. They're blocking everybody, right? So there's the big lesson is saying like, man, it's the adjustment, right? I had to, when I first got to my company, I was like, okay, so what's the process?
Mhm.
Where's the structure?
Yeah.
Where's the templates? Right? And my manager was like, man,
We got it. We don't
where
have any
we
of it.
we ain't
We
got,
don't
you
have
know,
any.
We got any of it.
matter
We
of
don't
fact,
have
your
any.
position,
There
yeah,
is
matter of
none.
fact, matter of fact, your position is just
That's why we hired you.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hired you. Oh, we
What's
hired
that?
you to do it. You know,
What's
then I'm
that?
like, okay,
Structure.
cool. Yeah. Oh, and then it's like, and then so in the military, right? You ask to go home, or you wait till you get dismissed, and then you know, so then I was like, So when it was time for me to clock out, I was like, all right, I'm off for the day. He like, listen, you don't gotta say that you're leaving. Reversally. You don't gotta say that you're off, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So then I said, so how do you clock my times and stuff? He said, no, I trust that you work 40 hours.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
look.
it's
Yeah.
like what? So it's the lesson is the adjustment of the mindset of saying, oh, you can relax a little bit. So
Mhm.
getting another example, I got a huge nose ring, bull's nose ring, right? So when I in the middle, so I'm still serving. So when I put my uniform on, I flip it
Wow.
up because I can't wear it in uniform, right? I got to put my hair back up and everything. One, and in my corporate job, my nose ring is down, my hair is whatever. But when I first got my nose ring, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to flip it up. But I'm not facing customers. I wonder how people will perceive me and stuff like that.
Mhm. Oh, you lost her.
Huh?
I think we might have lost her.
Oh, you did? Well, let's see. Where'd she go? Oh, we did. We did
Oh,
lose her.
I think she
There
fell.
she
Oh,
go.
there she is. She's
There
back.
she go. There we go. I knew she was hanging on. Hey,
Right back.
hey, Ty, pull your phone. Your phone Verizon. You Verizon, T-Mobile.
Yo, nah, this T-Mobile. T-Mobile
Uh,
sucks. If you
Yeah.
hear me, and I mean, let me
Whoa.
tell you, this is a good one. So when I was interviewing for jobs, I actually got an interview with T-Mobile to be a project manager. I was going to help. Remember, T-Mobile acquired
Front.
Sprint,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
that was going to be my job was to migrate all those employees over into T-Mobile, sort them out, do the trainings, set up the trainings, and all that stuff. So I actually did interview for headquarters for a project management job and everything with them. And I
Hmm.
didn't get it. The lady said, listen, we loved you, but we just needed somebody with a little bit more experience. And I was like, well, it was just great to interview you. Like for to interview with you, right? And then also get this far, because some people, but I could just say this, they service suck.
It does. That's why I switched
Man,
to Verizon.
yeah, you came to the right place too. Let me ask y'all. Talked a lot tonight about speaking up, which is great. Make your voice heard in the workplace and being your authentic self. But why do you feel that many high performing African American employees are not promoted as fast as some other minorities?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. Like not speaking up, and then
Not,
two,
not, like I said, not even asking for the raise or demonstrating how they qualify for
exactly.
the promotion. You know?
And that and
Oh,
yeah, and I was gonna say I've been through that. Like, so not until I got this job, like I always was making, like I found out later that I was always making less than everyone else, even though I was doing all the
Me
work.
too. Me too. I've
So
been there.
I didn't know. Like now I'm 29. Like so I've been working. I got my first engineering job when I was 20. So like since then, like every single engineering job I've had, like I've always like just taken whatever they gave me because
Hmm.
no one ever talked to me about it. No one ever told me about it. Like every job that I had, there
Just
was
kind of
like
keep your foot in the door in the way, huh?
right, exactly. And then I got to this job, and the boss that I have, like he tells me stuff that I need to like, because he's like, I'm trying to teach you like how to assert yourself, like,
I'll show you the
inside of
ropes.
the corporate world. And he's like, and two, you have children. He's like, don't allow, anyone to try to like just run over you and take your time away. And that's
Hmm.
what, why I said. So I think, a lot of times if you don't have it already in you and you don't have someone that's going to teach you or show you how to do it, then you get stuck in that cycle where you're 45, 50 and you're still making less than six figures. Like no one should ever be that age and like in tech and making less than 100K. Like
Right.
that should
Right.
never happen.
Right.
And like I pushed for that. Like I was like, I'm not taking like less than this when I when I got there. Like I'm not moving. And then I was going to leave like, the company and I was going to go somewhere else because I was like, hey, like I'm not getting enough. Like I feel like I'm not, this is not, I'm not being able to do the things I want to do. And they gave me, the raise, bonus, all the stuff that I asked for, because I was like, look, it's not working for me. And I had to do that, which is you shouldn't have to do it, but that's how corporate world is. Like you
Yeah.
have to do that, but like you have to be like this is what I demand for my time. Like I'm giving you my time. Like so like you need to pay me for how much I think my
Yeah.
time is worth.
Exactly.
Oh, well, I'm going to go a step further than that. I feel like they put these requirements in that they think that we cannot reach.
I love
Right?
that. Yep.
Example, why do I need a
Give us
master's
an example.
degree? Oh, like I'm gonna give you an example. Matter of fact, example. When I applied for a job, I had a diploma that could probably do this job, right? But they wanted somebody with a bachelor's degree, right? They wanted somebody with a bachelor's degree. They want somebody with 2 to 3 years experience and blah blah. But in this and the stuff that I currently do, well, when I first started doing, I was like, oh, somebody with a high school diploma could have did this and learn as they go, because that's what I did, right? So for them to say, hey, to move up to the next level, Ty, you're gonna need to have your master's degree. You're gonna have to know all this stuff and blah 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 blah, right? They try to put requirements on stuff that says we know they're not going to reach it, so we don't expect nothing that they're going to apply to for a
Yeah.
promotion and stuff like that. And so a lot of times, right, so we line people up. We could say that, you know white people go for their masters and get their doctorate's degree. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of
And we do
people
too.
of color don't. Well, not, it's like, but think about this. When I tell people, oh, yeah, I got my doctor's degree, they're like, wow, what are
Mhm.
you wowing for?
Yeah, it should be a
What are you wowing for?
right,
I
right.
can't believe
You
you
know,
actually
well,
went,
we didn't expect,
that step further
we
and
didn't,
did it.
we didn't expect you to have that. Why would
Yeah.
you?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, what you see is somebody with no face, with tattoos, get past y'all, right? And you don't think that, well, guess what? You're wrong. My father has a doctor's degree. My dad owns a Ace Hardware store and a
I'm working on
UPS
mine as
store.
well.
He retired.
Mm-hmm.
He retired from the
Cybersecurity.
military. He worked for the DOT right now in DC. Like when I go on this rampage, they're like, "All right, you prove your point." Nah, I should have never had proved my
Shouldn't.
point to your
You're right.
right.
You're right
So let
now.
me tell you. So why don't we? Well, how come we can't reach up? It's because they put these crazy expectations and they think we can't reach
But guess what?
for them,
Once we
right?
reach them, then they give us more excuses about why they can't give us the promotion.
Yeah.
Moving the
Oh, we can't
goalposts.
pay
Yeah.
you. We can't.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't pay you the same. We can't pay you the same. We can't.
Right.
We can't offer you what we offered so and so, right? And
And
and so they try to keep us complacent, and they try to keep us complacent. They try to just, here, we give you another bonus, right? Or here, you can manage a person. Listen, I don't want to manage nobody. I want the pay. I want a promotion. That is
right,
it.
right. And and what I tell people too is like another way to kind of like make sure that you're not depending on that job. Like so my biggest thing was like once I got into like tech and everything like that was to diversify my skills so that like I can be a consultant like at any level, right? So
Mhm.
like being able to do something outside of that. So let's say that they do decide like we're downsizing the company, we're you got to go, like you still have something else. So like right before I started this company, I was at another company like doing consulting, like and like I did not like the company. They didn't treat me very well and I quit. Like my boss was like, you have to come back to the office, like because we need you to stay in the office, like and not be at home. And I'm like, no. And I told her, no, I'm not going to do it. Like I have, kids at home, like I have to be here, things like that. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And she was like, well, if you don't, then we're gonna have a talk. And I sent them an email and was like, I quit. Like I'm quitting. And the thing was, I felt comfortable doing that because that wasn't my only like, thing that I was doing. Like I used like diversified, like, hey, like I can consult with this, that, and do these things so that I don't have to worry about this corporate job that they're holding over my head. That way we feel more comfortable, about the things that we're doing. And we don't have to worry about someone telling us that, oh, if you don't do this, then you're fired. I'm like, okay, I'll quit then. Like, I'm not gonna stay here, So
I like that. I like that. And like I said, so I have a nonprofit background. I love everything nonprofits. Matter of fact, the podcast, I would be like, listen, it's nonprofit. This how you make money. Extra sponsorship, right? People pay for you to advertise. You like, hey, this is Salesforce.
Mhm.
Salesforce wants y'all to sign up. They pay you to do this, do that shout out, right?
Mhm.
You could say, cool. Another step further is showing kids how to do their own podcast, right? Like you can make this in the nonprofit. You know how many times people are like, listen, I need you to help me write a grant or help me organize whatever for the nonprofit. I'm like, cool, $150. They have no problem
Right.
paying me $150. That's
Right.
$150 gonna pay my light bill. And think about it, if I have 3 jobs lined up. Whoa, I'm minimalist over here. Right? So guess what? I'm fine too. So you're so correct. Use your skills somewhere else and you good. Listen,
Yep.
I tell people time, like, if you hate your job so bad, go DoorDash. People are making a killing door dashing. DoorDash.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
You know
And
what
so
else
stop
I want
relying
to
on
ask?
this 9 to 5.
What about so like we're experienced now. We know, the red flags in the job when it's time to make our exit and move on to our next project. But for the newcomers and people with less experience who haven't learned how to speak up yet, what are some of those red flags or drawbacks when they should know when it's time to leave the job?
Before you even start, like you see this all the time. Like if a company says, like, the whole family thing, like, yeah, we're a
Oh,
family here, and that
ooh,
whole thing.
yeah,
Like,
right.
like every
And
company
it
that
was
I've
not a
started,
family. It was not
no,
family.
no,
No.
they do that so that they can like put your guards down, like so that you agree, and then you, like Taisha was saying, like you become complacent, and you're like, oh, okay, like I'll stay here. Like everybody, they're good, like so like knowing, like if you're not respected, like that's one thing. It doesn't matter if
Not
you
being
know
respected,
very little. Like, yeah, if you don't
not
know
being
very little
valued.
or you know a lot, if
Right.
you're not respected or you're not valued, if you bring a lot. Now it's different if you are bad at your job, like, and you're not coming to work on time, like you're not doing what you should do, like that's different. But if you're coming, showing up every day, you're giving 100% effort, you're getting stuff done, and people are just like they're disrespecting you or they're treating you a certain way, then that means it's time to go. Like it's time for you to start looking for something else.
Yeah.
And that's how I wish I would have known when I was
Mm-hmm.
20, like when to
I agree.
exit,
I
and
agree
not
too.
to stay around, because I stayed at a job for 3.5 years, like because it was my first job out of like actual college. Like I stayed there and I thought, like, I was like, oh yeah, everybody's been so cool to me. And then I started seeing the cracks, like in the foundation of everything, and I'm like, okay,
So
like
you
so.
start seeing the true colors, didn't you?
Yep, yep. Like as soon
Yeah.
as you, like, I graduated,
Uh-huh.
and they're like, "Hey, we want you to take all of these projects. We're laying all these people off. Like, we're gonna give all this to you. Like, and we don't care if you need to go home right now." And then as soon as like I started my family, like that was no more because my wife wasn't having it. Like she was like, "You can't be at work for 16 hours. Like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about?" I'm like, "Hey, I gotta go to work. Like, I gotta be there tonight. I gotta be at the hospital. I was working at hospitals and different stuff, and like it just like when they don't value
Right.
your time and they don't
Right.
respect
They have
you,
you just doing
like
stuff on their time, just
ex-
disregarding your personal time. But
exactly.
you know what I want to add is that say you have an issue in the workplace and you want to voice it to your supervisor. I caught myself doing it one time. They asked me what was said.
Hmm.
And when they went on and said, "Hey, tell me what happened between you and so," and this between me and you. What I learned is that it is not between me and them. It's between
No.
me and everybody else.
Everybody,
And
yeah.
you know what?
Yep.
They about to, they about to flip the script on me. That's why they asked me, you know.
This is why I record every meeting.
It's not between
I
me and them,
record
me and everybody
I
else.
record every meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I record every meeting. So
Yeah.
when my manager be like, "Oh, I heard what happened in that last meeting," I said, "You did? Well, here's the recording."
Uh-huh.
Yep, here's a
Yep.
recording. And then sometimes like because it was like always this argument, and me, my product manager, the element manager, there was always an argument. And I said, listen, if they say who to fire, it's the element manager. And guess why? Because I have it all in recording, telling us to shut up, telling us to be quiet, like
Huh?
undermining us. Yeah,
No.
bro, telling you. So guess what?
No.
I recorded every
No.
call,
Uh-uh.
every call.
Mm-mm.
And so
No, we don't do that.
my manager was like, what is happening? I said, listen, here are the last
No.
5 meetings, and then here's the recordings. If we're gonna fire somebody, it's gonna be his ass. So that's what you do. So but that's what you do. So you put yourself in a position where you said, you know what, I know this meeting's going to be heated. Let me record it. Because let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
you will always catch somebody slipping, right? So guess what? And somebody's always going to slip up. So if you record the meeting and you're going to say, watch, all I got to do is say this one word, this one sentence, and watch he trip. I'm telling you. And they forget they being recorded,
Mm-hmm.
right? So guess what? That's what I do now. That's what I do. Because I said, oh, you're not going to switch my words up. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why everything is always communicated through email. You record these meetings, and the Slack messages, are always, you can always go back
And
to them.
one thing I
So
want to add
that's what I
too,
do.
even when you submit documentation and knowing that you have proper backing and knowing you're telling the truth and it's still not acknowledged by the company, that might be the most toughest things that I have experienced. All
Oh
right.
no, it's time to go. It's time to go then.
Like I said, not being heard and them people knowing that you have a valid point, but they're just not listening.
Red flag.
A huge red flag. That's a technical foul.
Yep.
Uh, and it's just like, right then. And see, you know what? Even in that position, and I'm talking about one of my teacher positions right now. Uh, I stayed to the end of the school year, tried to make it to summer school, but I decided, you know what? I can't keep going through this type of treatment. I just
Yeah.
can't. I love what I do here. I love my students, but what I'm getting on the back end is just not healthy for me as a person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
I'm actually getting kind of stressed at this point. Uh,
Yeah. Anytime it. Yeah, and that's when it's time. So I
I realized that.
yeah, I told my so I talked to my wife because she's like kind of starting her career and like getting into the things that she wants to do, and I explained to her like, as you get into your career, like I've been doing like the stuff I've been doing for like the last 9 to 10 years, and like once you get to a certain point, like, and you should always be like this, to be honest. Like I wish I would have known this a long time ago. Never do anything that you like. Don't just take a job if you have the skill like to do something, like, and don't just take stuff from people just because like you need that job, right? Like, so like if especially, I mean, it's easier said than done, like, because if you have children, you got to make ends meet. Sometimes you got to do what you have to do, like Tyeshia was saying, sometimes you got to hustle. Like that's how I grew up. Like, you got to hustle, you got to do the things you have to do. Like, but if you get to a point where you're like, I can make the decision for myself. Like, I'm not going to stay here. Like, I'm not going to do something just because. So now, like, I only do like I work where I work because I want to, like, not because I need to, I'm like, hey, I can actually go make more somewhere else if I wanted to, but I get to do so many more things that I want to do, like
I
game
had to actually,
development and
believe in that myself. I had to
yeah,
realize that it's actually true for me.
yep,
But
yep,
I wasn't
yep,
afraid to do it either. I
exactly, yep.
mean, so
And it could be like for me, like, I was the only one like kind of working at first, like in my family. So, until my wife got her, her career like, going and everything. So it was, for me, it was terrifying at first. Like, I'm like, oh man, if I lose my job, what's going to happen? But then I had to like kind of put that away and be like, you know what, like if I lose my job, there's other things that I can do. Like there's other things, like tomorrow I can start making money if I wanted to, like, instead of like thinking that that's the, you know, that's the end of everything, you know. And that's what companies want you to think is like, you
Yeah.
know, they want you to be afraid. So like if they be like, hey, if you don't do this, like that's it for you. Like I've walked out of places before because I'm like, I'm not gonna be treated like, you know, I was gonna, that's why I was gonna quit the job that I have now, because somebody was, you know, treating me a certain way. And I was like, I don't have to take that. I told my supervisor I'm not taking it. Like, and I was like, I'm gonna leave. And he was like, no, we'll talk to him, we'll fix this. Like, you
But
know,
you know
so
what?
it's
Well,
speaking up.
you know what? While we on this subject, I do want our audience to understand. We're not trying to encourage you every time you have a problem that you should leave. We're just trying to show you
No,
that
no,
when you're undervalued, you
exactly.
don't have a voice, you don't have any growth opportunities. Those
Yep.
are signs when you should actually leave. You know, because they're, you know, the organization not showing the signs trying to take care of you as a person or as a professional.
Yeah.
However, there will be many
You heard of
adversities, many
you
signs
heard
of
of Blake?
adversity, you know,
Oh
where
my
you
bad.
have to work through it. I'm getting to the second time. Hold on a second. We'll get back to it. So it's gonna be it's gonna be some things, adversities such as outworking some of your coworkers, stepping up on different projects. And this deal remote work, you know, I encourage everybody. Anytime you know you have a Microsoft Teams meeting, a Zoom meeting, have your camera on just how we have it right now. Speak up,
Mhm.
engage, and ask questions. Because see, if those see you working with a lot of people in remote jobs that you haven't met before. All right, you don't talk to maybe once or twice, email, maybe a Zoom call, but you know they don't actually know you. So speak up as much as possible so they can actually start to put a face with your voice and your screen name here. And they say, hey, I talked to Rashad, you know, we worked on the ticket together. And man, you know, he was sharp, man. He has some great knowledge about, he showed me how to create a firewall rule and so forth and so forth. So, you know, you want them to, you know, start saying those kind of things so they don't try to say, I don't know him. I never seen him. I don't think he does any work. He might have his camera, he might be asleep, he might be walking outside or something.
Right.
You know, you
Yeah.
don't want them
Yeah.
people just, you know, assuming things and creating those false ideas. All right, you know, so and Ty, talk to us real quick. Tell us.
So yeah, real quick, right? And so Blake Martinez from the Raiders, right?
Okay.
You talk about he 28 years old. After 4 seasons, he threw in the towel,
Mm.
right? You know, this man after 7 months made $5 million selling Pokemon
Oh yeah, yeah.
cards.
Yep.
So like that's where it goes back to saying, listen, I'm tired of getting hurt. My back hurt, my leg hurt, my knee hurt. NFL don't care. They want you to keep playing, right? He turned around and said, listen, the only thing that hurts is my fingers opening these Pokemon cards. He's, you know,
Yep.
so
Wow.
that was point is like he threw in the towel at 28, right? Because he was tired of getting hurt. He was tired of the back, the hurt, the playing for these teams. And, you know, he probably was like, listen, he probably was like, listen, I'm feeling very undervalued. Right?
Because you know,
So guess
he's
what? But he wanted to live longer. I want
exactly
to live longer. I don't
he's
want
still
my
a young
back to be
man.
hurting at 30-ish.
He's
Right?
still a
So
young
guess what?
man
I'm
and
gonna go start selling Pokemon. Yeah. I want a family. I want to have kids. I want to live until I'm 100 years old. Why not go sell some Pokemon cards? He said 7 months, I'm at $5 million selling Pokemon cards. I'm like, yo, I'm in the wrong career, right? But guess what? That's him saying, but that's him saying, I know my worth. I
Mhm.
know what I can do. I value myself a little bit more. I value my health, right? My health more.
Right.
mm-hmm.
And he probably saying, and we don't probably know the backstory. The NFL probably do or don't take care of their players, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, your job is to go in that field,
It depends on
bust
who
your
they
ass.
are
Yeah,
and what
correct,
kind of
right?
contract they have.
Go out there, play hard. Correct. Go out there, play hard, and we'll see what happens,
But
right?
Right.
it depends on, you
Right.
know,
So he
so just
probably
see
looked at the bigger picture.
he probably, you know what I'm saying, with him being so young, he probably still in his rookie deal too. So he probably didn't make a whole lot, probably getting a lot of playing time either. So, you know, with that being said, you know, that's not a knock on him. Just he looking at the bigger picture for himself, you know, living longer. Cause you know, it
Mhm.
is life after football. You want to be able to walk and function properly without being so beat up. Limbs
Right.
missing, bad back, internal organs damaged. Football
Hmm.
is a violent sport. I played for a little while myself, man. Trust me.
It can mess
So
you
that's
up.
us.
Yeah.
So that's us saying we know our value. We shouldn't just be complacent at this one spot. We
Mhm.
have the skills to do other things. Listen, I'm
Hmm.
a hustler, right? I have a logistics company. I rent out trailers. I got a vending machine. I have a car on Toro.
Yep.
I got a
Yep.
few rental. I got a few rental
Yep.
properties. So guess what? Oh, I collect a VA check. I also in the reserves. Listen,
Hmm.
so my job said, "Hey, thank you, Ty, for your service." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm good." Right? And on top of that, I'm a minimalist, right? So I don't need the fancy things, right?
Yep.
I don't blow my money, right?
Hmm.
I probably got so much money saved. I probably could open a store, cash out, right? But the fact is that,
Hmm.
it's always the what ifs. People need to start having plan B's and C's and D's and not saying,
Totally.
"Oh, I'm living day by day,"
Yep.
right? Because then that's
Exactly.
what happened when a lot of these people got laid off. They're like, "Oh my gosh,
What am I gonna do?
I didn't have a
Right.
plan. Oh,
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do?" Listen, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm probably sell my one of my vending machines off, collect $3,000 in my pocket. That'll probably last me for 2 months because my BA check will cover my mortgage and my other bills. Like I'm already thinking, like I love door dashing. I could go DoorDash for a couple of days and make $400. I'm good,
Yep. Yep.
right? But what
Yes.
happened is
Real
us,
quick.
we like to clock in and clock out.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's super powerful because, like you said, like it's the having the other plans, the backups, and for us, like in our culture too, like we like seeing our parents and stuff, like kind of growing up, and like and seeing them having to hustle like the hard way, like going out and breaking your back and going out and doing a bunch of stuff that you're not gonna make, even you may not even make enough to pay the rent. Like you might not even have it. I had six brothers and sisters, like so
Mm,
I started working when I was 9, like
mm,
and like working with my dad and construction and stuff like
mm.
that, like, and I was like, I'm not doing this. Like this
Yeah.
is not, when I get
Yeah.
older, like I'm not gonna put myself in this position. Like I want to make sure that I can then put myself in a better position where I'm not hustling the hard way, I'm hustling the smart way, right?
Yeah.
Like Tyeshia said, like me too, like we got vending machines and like we own land and stuff like that and houses and stuff like that to be able to make other things. So just in case if hey, this doesn't pan out, like we have other options. Like we have other, avenues that we can go down, especially when you have a family. Like you're thinking more of, like you start thinking of legacy,
Mhm.
more than like,
And
hey, I got all these things, like all this stuff.
honestly, you know
Yeah.
what? Even as a single man with no kids, I'm thinking about legacy myself.
Yeah.
Generation wealth.
I
The
am.
Yep.
word is
Yep.
generation wealth,
Yep.
right?
Definitely
And
Yeah.
am.
that's where when people like, man, my parents didn't leave me nothing, so I'm not leaving my kids nothing.
No.
Or I was born in this world empty pocket. I'm gonna die with my empty pocket. Like we should not be thinking about
We
that,
should.
right?
We
Like
should. We should not.
I'm putting my kids in a position where I do not want my kids to join the military, right?
Right.
So how
Right.
do I help my daughters not join the military? Doing generation wealth,
Uh-huh.
buying land and say, listen, we're gonna start a campground. If you're gonna work this campground, your kid's gonna work this campground, and that's it, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
got houses, rent these houses out, and you'll be good. Or
Hmm.
tear it down and put a complex on that joint. Like that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
Stop trying to, right? Or you get life insurance that's worth
Hmm.
$1 million. So when you die, you say, listen, throw me in the backyard, burn my ass, keep my ashes, don't keep my ashes, but this only should like my cremation should only cost you $150.
Yeah.
Then take the
Yeah.
other 900, look, 998,
Crazy. You crazy.
money and go buy you something. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Check this
Make
out,
a
Right?
Ty.
life.
And that's
Ty.
what you do.
Yeah. But Ty, give us some traits of your current self versus your younger self. when you started in IT? How have you evolved?
Oh man, that's a good question.
Yeah,
And then I
absolutely.
feel like, right, I always had this mindset of how do I give back to my community? I joined the military because I wanted to give back to my community, right?
Mhm.
I wanted to show people that women of color could join the military and be successful in the career. And I have 11 years gone by and I have been very successful in my career. So when
Uh-huh.
I wanted to make this transition of being off faculty into tech, I'm like, oh man, this is a awesome milestone for me, right?
Yeah.
And so it was more of like, okay, cool. Now you're going to be a bigger representative of your community because now you enter into corporate world and where a lot of people want to be in your position, right? So you talk different, not you don't talk different, but promote yourself a little better, you brand yourself a little bit better. And so let me tell you, when I first joined the military, oh, I was reckless. I was a savage. Like I got
Really?
arrested
How
and I didn't
how
really
so?
care.
How
So my
so?
yeah, I swear to goodness, because you know why? It was structured, right? So I knew I lived in a barracks. I woke up every day. I knew what my job was. I knew how to get promoted. Like I did the steps, but outside of those steps, oh, I got into fights. I cursed people out. I
Mm,
got yelled at, right?
mm,
But then after a while, I said, wait a minute, why am I making my life hard, right? My priorities shift. I was start thinking about more of my future, right? Hey, you need to get you an education. Oh, I have a master's, right? You're gonna have family one day, you're gonna have kids one day, you want to provide for your family. How do you do that, right?
mm-hmm,
By
mm-hmm.
in the military, following the
Reality.
structure, following the
Reality hit.
plan,
Yeah.
right? So then I said, then yeah, reality hit. Then when I had kids and got married, I was like, wait a minute, this is a new level, right? This is a new level, right? You grown up now. And so now it's like you have more responsibilities, right? Like I want the big house. I want the big house. I want the pool. I want the white picket fence. I want the nice things, but still live a minimalist lifestyle. But
Mm-hmm.
then also say, I don't have to worry about how to put food on my table, right? Like my mom, we grew up in the Bronx. We didn't have it all. I saw my mom work late, do all this stuff. And on the other hand, I saw my dad who said, not saying my mom did it wrong, but he was doing it right. While he was serving, he ran a limo company. He had 2 condos, and I was like, oh my God, all of this provides for us and doing this, and this. So every time I went to my dad's house, we had our own rooms. We had steak dinner every night. We had this stuff. So when I moved into tech and people was like, the money, the education, you were able to sit at the table where people you probably would never think about sitting at the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
earned my spot at this table, right? I'm just as smart as you, right? I'm knowledgeable, I'm quick to learn. And so my mindset changed. I grew up a little bit better and my priorities shifted. I was not single
Yeah.
no more. I didn't, I started to care more. I got kids. Now I'm saying to myself, like, cool, my daughters, I
You
do not want
grew
them to
up.
join the military.
Yeah.
So how do I help them out, right? My priorities change. But I always had a heart of saying, how do I give back to my community? So now on the other side of this is saying, I need to help my community grow. And how do I do that is showing up, right? Good example. Me getting my doctorate degree is not me checking the block. It's me
Right.
showing up saying, we could get degrees too,
Yeah.
right? We could do this. We could do TED Talks. You're gonna be looking at somebody in the mirror just like you. You're gonna watch me stand on the stage and give you a speech on how do we level up, right? How do we help other people grow? How do we show up for our community? You have time to see mothers come to me and go, oh my goodness, when I'm in uniform, say, oh my goodness, my daughter is thinking about going into military. What do you think? Right? I could say, oh gosh, don't do that. Why? Why would I tear that down? What you do is say, hey, it's an office stepping stone, right? This is how you do it and get positive feedback. At the end of the day, that child, that daughter is going to make their own decision, right? Just the same thing. I could tell people don't go into tech, they're doing a bunch of layoffs. Right? Why would I tear their dream down?
Don't do that.
Hey, join tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, join tech. Do this. This is how I did it. You know, I'm happy to mentor you or coach you or whatever. It's all free because you know some people's about their pocket, their money. No, because guess what? I'm getting rewarded on the other end. You know, it's the shout outs. It's the hey, you know, it's the getting invited to places, getting awards, getting, you know, that's what I want. So when people like, hey, can you look at my LinkedIn or can you do my resume? And oh, for free, right? So it definitely, I grew up. I can tell you this. I definitely grew up, right?
I can say the same thing. I can.
Listen, I grew up because let me tell you, like I said, when I joined the military, I was a savage and I really didn't care my party shift. So I think that's also a part of when I tell people, like, listen, your mindset have to change, your priorities have to shift, right? And then you can't be selfish. Stop
Nope.
gatekeeping, right? So that's another problem we also have, right? We can't gatekeep. We can't tear somebody else's dreams down. Let me tell you, God will bless us in many ways, right? And I have seen it. I have seen it works. And you know, I'm not religious at all. Like my kids go to a private Christian school. But at the end of the day, it's that I see it worked. I have been rewarded well. Because think about this, my job went through 2 layoffs and I'm still here. Right? So I think that's a blessing, right? I'm valued. They see my work, they see me. And to be honest, for the longest I said, oh, I'm just checking the blocks at my job. I'm Black. I'm a military. They needed, right? Because for a minute, I was the only Black person on my team, right? So I said, oh, they checking the blocks, right? Like, oh, okay. But then after a while, they was like, no, we're not checking blocks with you. We really want you here. We really like you, you know? So, you know, so I have personally definitely grown in many ways, and going to a real corporate job was like, wait a minute, I can make good money. I can make good friends. Let me tell you, I had people that left the job and came back. And one of my PMs was like, listen, when I left and went to Instacart to go work, I missed you so much. And I said, that's the reason why you came back? She said, no, but she said, out of everybody, I really miss you. You always want to leave an impression on somebody, right? Like I meet people all the time and they're like, oh my goodness, you'll be missed. You'll be missed. You know, and that's what you want, right? That's all about growth. If you walk around angry and bitter and same immature person that you was 10 years ago, listen, oh, you will not be missed.
No.
Right? You will not be missed. Nope. Your priorities is not about how I'm gonna put food on my table. Right? My priority is gonna be I'm just living day by day, you know, whatever happens. Yeah. Right?
Don't want to do so that. I would say,
you don't.
Not taking things so personal, allowing yourself to grow through the adversity, not beating yourself down for the thing that you didn't know about how to handle those workplace politics, different tasks that you probably didn't come through on, or even like trying to take more initiative. Me over time, I started taking heavy initiative. Like I was the first one at there, always applying to meetings. Now my younger self was quiet in the meetings. I just tried to stay there, be quiet, kind of go unnoticed. But over time, I started being one to actually lead the meetings. Long before I moved into like lead roles, right? I started speaking up. I started talking about things that occurred that week, things that I had questions about, things that I wanted to learn. I voiced everything, and that just really started helping me blossom, I think. So, those are some ways I think that I've grown too.
And that's good, right? And then also tell people now about growth is saying, so let's stop chasing the money, right? Because the money, the job could be paying, yeah, right? The job could pay us $200,000.
You know what? And I say that
but we don't like that job.
Yeah, see, I said it because like when you find something you're passionate about, just eventually, like when I started working as a network engineer, then that led me to teaching at Cisco. See, those were jobs that I was passionate about. Why? Because I learned so much about networking. I became more professional. I started traveling more, and it put me in a leadership role. I was helping students develop. I was able to put out my own experience to it, put my own creativity to building the program. So I was like, look, man, I found my niche. I found it. So I continue on with that. So like I said, even with that, you're excited about your work, you enjoy your work, and guess what? That leads to a bigger interest and salary.
Mm-hmm.
That increases salary. But see, I mean, like, just talk about this. What's the benefit of getting paid a lot of money for a job that you don't like? Because you probably won't even go to that job. You probably call in sick all the time just so you won't
Oh,
go.
I'm not coming.
especially you, and look, and especially when you're remote, you be like, I'm not logging in
Sleep.
today,
Yeah,
Yeah.
nah. Like
or
I said,
pretend
if
you're
I
in
do
meetings all day.
anything,
Yeah.
I just feel like
Yeah,
like why put
exactly.
yourself through something that you don't want to do, and you don't have to do it. I
Yeah.
mean, at that point in my life, I'm like, oh y'all, like I'm checking out my bucket list, man. I'm checking out all the experiences, travel, teaching, starting a business, running my company, going to South
Mm-hmm.
Africa, going to Europe. Those things that I want to check out. I want to be to talk about those experiences.
Right.
What I've
Yeah.
learned, people I met. Talk about being on the podcast with y'all tonight. I want to talk about those type of things, not stuff that I don't like. You know what I mean? I don't want
Yeah.
to talk
And
about people,
Yeah.
right.
having an attitude and
Yeah.
that. No, I want to talk about the good stuff.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing, like you, that's the mind shift, the mind set shift, like, you guys are talking about, like, your mind has to, it has to kind of flip a switch, like once you start growing up and you're like,
Yeah,
like you said, I want experiences, like I want to meet different people, like I want to, like, and that's been my thing, like for the last, like 5 to 7 years, like all I've wanted to do, like Taisha was saying, like I'm a minimalist. I don't really buy much. Like I
yeah,
keep the same amount of clothes, like in the same things. My wife is always like, "Why don't you buy yourself some more stuff?" I'm like, I can wear these things. Like
yeah.
I don't need to buy like
I
Jordans
started.
or these kind of things. And
What?
I
My bad.
yeah,
Oh,
I was gonna
go ahead.
say,
Go. I'm gonna cut you off.
yeah, and like those are the things, like you start figuring out, like life is more about experiences, like it's
Mm-hmm.
more about like when you're done, in this world, like what do you like what were you able to do, like where were you
Yes.
able to, like, not just accomplish, but the things that you were able to actually experience, because
Right. Like
that
what
money is not
you.
going to go with you, but
No, it's
all
not.
of those
Nothing.
experiences you'll remember those
The
things,
money, the car,
so.
the Jordans. None of that's
Mhm.
gonna be in your casket.
Right. And
Either
there's nothing wrong with
you.
having those. It's
Yeah.
just, it shouldn't
It's,
be
it's
our
not
main
going with
priority, right? You know?
you. So
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Your priorities, people priorities are wrong, right? Like I just
Yeah.
stated, I don't want a fancy funeral. Cremate me in a backyard, and I don't care what you do with my ashes, right?
Do something with them.
And do whatever you want to do
Yeah.
with them, but take that
Yeah.
life insurance and build your life,
Yeah.
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
Like I don't want you to be trying to come to my grave site and cry, blah blah. Like I don't want all of that. But let me tell you, I'm probably in hell or heaven, hustling, selling ice water, and doing what I gotta do in some another
Crazy,
world, right?
man.
In
One
another
time.
world, right? And our priorities gotta shift, right? Just like when people be like, they spent all this money on a wedding. Me and my husband got married at a DMV in Colorado, because you could get married in Colorado at the
Mhm.
DMV. And I think we
Mhm.
spent like $50, right? And then that's it. We've been married 8 years now.
Yeah.
So my priority
Yep.
was,
Yep.
listen, we're gonna take this money and we're gonna blow it on vacations every year. Me and my husband go on a vacation every year, and not just for 2 days. We go away for like a week and a half. We went to Key West last summer. This year we're going to San Diego, LA, right?
Mhm.
So guess what? That's what we're doing. Our priority is saying, let's
Yep.
blow this money on a good vacation without our kids. And so that's the mindset, right? Like
Yeah. Yep.
we are,
Yep.
it's about growth, right? So
Yeah.
we, a couple of years ago, we didn't care. Now we're like, Oh,
Like,
we
yeah,
gotta
older.
care. But even,
Yeah.
yeah, but then as a single person, right? You should say is, man, if I want to meet a nice lady, I need to have some money. I can't be broke. I can't, be still living with my mother or whatever. Whatever the case is. Or you can live with your mother, but then you better be having some money in your bank account.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
Yep.
So there's a difference, and that's where priorities. We can't be chasing money. Our priorities is saying we need to be fulfilled at work, be passionate, love what we do, and money will come. We're busy, right? And so that's the thing. So when I started my job, I'm 60, yeah, and guess what? I got a $10,000 bonus. He said, my manager was like, it's somebody about 3.2% pay raise. I was like, oh God, it's like $2. And he was like, oh no, it comes to $10,000. I was like, what? He said, you did an awesome job this year, Ty. So that's when I was like, I'm a bad bitch, y'all.
Right.
So that's how we
That's how we evolve.
that's how we help people, and that.
Okay. So hey, you know what? That was a great discussion, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. We covered a lot of different topics from, you know, building our LinkedIn platform, connecting with top level professionals, entering the IT industry at different ages. Also sharing different experiences. Heard from Mr. Michael Wilson, Ms. Tyeshia Pegram Fornville, and Mr. Rashad Robinson, of course, your host on Right Now Radio. What time is it again, y'all?
Right now.
Right
Right now radio. And y'all can download us, our episodes on Amazon Music, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. But I thank y'all again. So all have a good
Listen,